welcome. This is the first panel we've had in our last 22 webinars, which is entirely, dominated by women. Otherwise, I was being accused of having males, so because most of my panels are male dominated. So today I can finally get rid of that accusation and say that well, I have a lovely woman dominated, woman oriented, but not woman oriented. I mean, I'm sure it's COVID is a non-gender specific pandemic. So we are all on board, and I'm happy to see all of you uh, join us. It's really a pleasure to have you. A bit of before we start, I want to just introduce what these webinars are. We have had, as I said, 21 webinars under the auspices of the India International Hospitality Expo 2020. Some of you may remember it because last year we had Ms. Priya Paul from the park deliver the keynote address at IHE 2019. We had Mr. K.B. Katsu getting the Lifetime Achievement Award, and we had Ms. Rakhi Lalwani getting the PR and Communications Award for the year. We had a lot of this, ecosystem that we have around us, were present and supporting us at IHE 2019. At IHE 2019, we realized we are the biggest hospitality sector B2B show. But then we also realized that it's not, there's no point doing a show in a year and then forgetting about the hospitality sector for the rest of the year and only going back to them when stalls have to be sold or, when visitors have to be got. So we started this year-long engagement with the sector, and we realized there could be no better time than to launch it at the height of the COVID pandemic. In fact, we launched it with the lockdown, and since the first week of April, we have done 21 of these seminars. This is the 22nd seminar. We have had virtually everyone from the industry come and speak with us and join our discussions. We have had a very good audience too. Our audience has been international. We have had people, from America to Italy to, Indonesia participate in our discussions. So it's been a very fruitful exercise. We've also been able to stay in touch with our immediate audience. That is the hospitality sector. Today's webinar, which is a third of our very knowledge-intensive webinars, is about how communicators dealt with this pandemic, for which no templates or recipes were available. I mean, it rarely happens in human history. I think since 1918, this is the first time that a pandemic has gripped the world. I mean, it's a real pandemic in the sense of the term that we are using. And virtually every sector of the economy has been affected. Worse, the travel and hospitality sectors have been hit like never before. In 1918, there was hardly when the Spanish influenza broke out, there was hardly any travel or hospitality sector to write home about. Today, it's a global $1 trillion industry. And anything that happens to it is bound ripple effects across sectors. So we are in the middle of that, and you guys, you as communicators, sent out the right messages at the right time. I mean, well, a lot of your colleagues were wondering what to do. You guys were working on your feet all the time, and you had to prepare your SOPs and on the go. I mean, you had no templates to fall back on. I think I'll talk to Parinita about what it was like 2611 and how does it compare between then and now, because she has seen both. Anjali, I don't know whether you were in India at that time, but a lot of us have seen what happened at during 2611 and what kind of a challenge it posed to all of us, in terms of communications. So. Without much ado, let's start. Parinita, maybe straight with you. Let's put COVID-19 in a historical context, and talk about the 2611. And you literally were in the middle of it. and being at the Taj Group, and being in the Taj Hotel, Taj Mahal Hotel. Um, how does it compare between then and now?
Thank you, Sarish. That was a very interesting introduction. So, see, 26, when you come and you're talking about SOPs, even when the 2611 struck, it had never happened in the hospitality industry. So, no, there was no SOP for that. So, we had to just handle it minute by minute. And I thought, this is going to be, nothing can get bigger than that, and no more crisis for me. Then along comes COVID. But the difference between 2611 and COVID is that 2611 got over in 4 days. And of course, the aftermath took about a year to handle. And the IHCL corporate communication team devised a complete communication strategy. And the company, the staff did such a heroic job, and it became a Harvard case study. But COVID-19 is getting prolonged. It's just not getting over. This is also equally dynamic, just like in how in 2611, you did not know what would happen next. Even in COVID, we do not know what is happening next. So what for us is very important is the safety and the security of our staff and also our guests. One very big learning which we had from 2611 and what we did this time was, even before the lockdown started, when the crisis started snowballing, the company senior management set up a cross-functional task force. So we were getting real-time communication. And we were acting very quickly because agility is the key. When a crisis happens, you cannot, think and take time and decide. You have to make decisions extremely quickly. And another thing was that, in 2611, as I said, it got over quickly. Here, we don't know what is happening next. It's a very fluid and dynamic situation. So what we are doing here now is we are following a very, very strong Tata value system. That is a guiding post. So anything happens, we turn to that guiding post and see our values are very, very important and all. And what IHCL did was, because of the Tata ethos, and we firmly believe that we have to be stakeholders in the community at large. We just don't have to make profits in the business. That is a given, but that cannot be just anything and everything. And so, the company moved immediately, and we started delivering meals we started delivering meals to the medical fraternity and the medical staff and the migrant workers. And I think in the period of the lockdowns over about 4 months, we've delivered over 2.4 million meals. And we also offered 55,000 room nights across cities to the medical fraternity, who obviously couldn't go home and risk their families and themselves because they were on the front line. They were the frontline warriors. Yeah. So I think that's what we did when it came to IHCL. I think now.
But I also believe that the hospitality sector warriors, and Ruchika is also from Park Hotels. They have also had, doctors staying with them. I think you guys are as much frontline workers as doctors, because your staffers put themselves at risk also. You don't know what
absolutely
kind of viruses.
I agree with you. I agree with you 1000%. I mean, our staff was absolutely frontline warriors. They literally put life at risk every single day when they came to work. And you can imagine their fears, because they were dealing with doctors and medical fraternity who were dealing with COVID patients. And we were first to offer our rooms to the doctors. And then, of course, the other people also started doing it.
I think there's an electrical outage again at Sorish's end, as I can see.
Yeah, no, I'm just back.
I'll check with him for the network.
Can you hear me? No, it's not a network. It's my
yes, we can hear you, Sarish.
We can.
Yeah. Okay, now you can hear me. Yes, fine. Sorry, my power situation is really bad here. Normally, we're very proud of the fact that in Delhi, power hardly goes out. They decided to play truant, Anjali, coming to you, you have been, of course, you've been with the Marriott International for a long time. You have also been abroad now. You've been in West Asia for about, if I'm not mistaken, at least 10 years.
Yeah, I've been in the UAE now handling Middle East and Africa for the last 5 years. And before
5 years,
that,
yeah.
obviously, I was in India, yes.
India, yeah, of course. So now, you have seen how the international, communications community also has been doing it. What do you think? How do your compatriots in India compare with their peers internationally? Do you think? I mean, there's something that India has shown the world, or Indian communicators have shown the world.
I think, firstly, I mean, COVID-19 is a situation that has not left anybody untouched. Any country in the world, we've seen that the scale and the pace at which things have evolved, they haven't left anybody untouched. And we as communicators, essentially, wherever we may be around the world, we've been at the front end of, handling and navigating these challenges that have come our way. So it doesn't matter where you are. I think what I have seen also from a little slightly different perspective is that the whole situation evolved in a wave sort of a fashion. So while there were countries, and I was looking after many countries in my previous role, and I saw that, while one country the life cycle was different. So while one country was getting out, there was another country which was picking up. And while that was coming out, then there were different levels in how the situation evolved in the countries. And I think India was probably the last for the spike to pick up the way it has. So while other countries are now at a stage of recovery, we are in the midst of the crisis. And just given the sheer challenges of our country, which are very peculiar to our country, like many other developing countries, it's very difficult, and it gets magnified. So the challenge with our communicators in the country is far more amplified. And I think we're also by nature such a close-knit community. And to some extent, I think that helps a lot. I think, we are amongst the first countries in the world who reached out to healthcare providers, to essential service providers, opened our doors to doctors, started to serve food to these essential service providers. So I think that is inherent to our nature. And it's intrinsic to who we are as a community. And safety of guests, safety of associates, safety of families, but also safety of communities, which India has been leading with during this crisis. That's my perspective from a little outside.
Right, and of course, congratulations. You'll be joining the Leela. I mean, you're part of the Leela group already, but
yes,
you'll be formally coming over to Mumbai and taking over your role in the first week of September.
No, I have actually already taken over my role, but I would be moving to India next month.
To your new office. Yeah, right.
Yes, and I will be based in Mumbai. But I think the Leela also did an amazing job during this entire crisis period with providing accommodation to healthcare providers, food for essential service providers. All of that was our hotels were up front and center. And I think, the one other thing I wanted to add here is our duty of care. I think that duty of care, it was so important while we were navigating this crisis and doing the right thing. I remember when the crisis first broke out and we started to see it outside of China, there were many conversations around, if you have a positive case in your hotel, do you communicate to other guests or not? But for many of us, that was never a question. I mean, it was always doing the right thing, and it's our duty of care. So that for me was a big learning from this crisis.
And I think that's a very sensitive issue that you just touched upon. How much do you let out? If a guest in the hotel is ill, and in this case, you have to let other guests know, because it's not some stomach infection or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Suresh, you mentioned this earlier, Pari mentioned this earlier, that there were no SOPs, there were no templates. And I've worked in a very highly volatile region and, handled all sorts of crises here, but nothing of the scale and the space. And sometimes you just, as communicators, have to rely on your gut feeling and what is the right thing to do. And in a case like this, that duty of care takes precedence over everything else.
Right. So, Sumika, I'll come to you because you are part of a larger chain of hotels with a footprint across the country. The park and the IHE and the leader, but especially because the Radisson is an international chain of hotels. How do you, how did you deal with the situation? So, from the time it broke out till today.
So, Swadesh, I think as my fellow panelists have mentioned earlier as well, I think it was a fairly consistent, battle for all of us because there were no SOPs. And when it comes to, having a roadmap, whether you are, a homegrown brand or you are an international brand to deal with a pandemic of this nature, you have to completely reinvent yourself. And also, I mean, for something that happened at a global scale, it hit all of us in the same manner, irrespective of who we were. So, but I would like to definitely say, there were a few things I think that we did rightly and pretty soon right up front. Somebody on this panel already mentioned that, as communicators, there was something that unique that arose, which was that the constitution of the of communicators as a group, I think that evolved. So communication wasn't just centered to a group of professionals like us. It was a multifaceted team. It was a team of individuals with cross-functional expertise that came together, and organizations that did and constituted that team early on, I think achieved the most success in terms of how they went out to their stakeholders. So I think that happened pretty soon and pretty swiftly for us at Radisson. I think another important aspect that we dealt with pretty early on was also to look at any informal channels of communication and weed them out at a to deal with a pandemic, to deal with a crisis situation which is ever evolving, so fluid. It was very necessary for us to take that conscious step for removing inaccuracies or inconsistencies in communication, and therefore formalizing a communication channel, making a single point of contact, and ensuring that all inconsistencies in the flow are weeded out. That was another priority, and we did that pretty well. And
because also, sorry to chip in, but when you're talking about multiple levels of communication, of course, we have got a lot of sort of communication channels which are patently false, or which are patently there to create scares. But there are also responsible channels, like you have chefs and all who took to the social media in a very big way to project their work, their recipes, and all. So how did you also, sort of manage to weave them all in so that they all send the same message across?
Yeah. So as I said, I mean, it was a lot of work which went into putting together a group and a team of cross-functional experts. So having a viewpoint from everyone that kind of connects to our stakeholders in one or the other way was a representative on that team of multifunctional experts. And when you have that diverse set of viewpoints, you know who you are addressing, how they will be impacted, and what's the frequency and what's the message you want to go out with. Then it's kind of easy to formalize it all, in a way that even if your chefs are going out and communicating on your behalf, it's the right message and it's on point. So I think that's some of the things that we did well critically.
That's right. In fact, that brings me to Ruchika, and there are multiple levels of questions I have because one, you're very big on social media. She's people who follow her on Instagram, know what kind of following she has, a big following, so you have got your own personal following. Of course, the Park Hotels has its own, strengths, and social media has been somewhere we've been very active on. Then, of course, there are two things which stood out because the Park Hotels was one of the earliest to go take the home delivery route. And Mr. Vijay Devan, your managing director, when he spoke to us on this forum, he said that the home delivery route is becoming a major vertical for the park in these days, And then, of course, the other big thing is that you were home to doctors like the Taj Hotels were right from day one, then so as someone was telling, I think, was it Mr. Diwan or was it your executive housekeeper? You're saying that how even small things like stepping into the hotel, a doctor can bring in viruses,
Yeah.
So you actually need, sanitize, sort of mattresses so that they walk over that before they come into the hotel, Now, what are the, having seen all this and being very much active on the social media, what are the social media lessons did you gather from this entire episode?
Okay, so first of all, I think this pandemic, like all my co-panelists has said, has I think one thing which I really would like to talk about is that how hospitality, we look beyond brands and how we all stepped up together and worked together in this type of crisis, which I think is really commendable because you don't necessarily see that in other industries. But I think all of us were not. It was not any other group, but more about hospitality and togetherness, how and what can we do. And I think that's something which very beautifully came out after this COVID, during this COVID crisis. Secondly, Suresh, like you mentioned that on social media, something which again my fellow co-panelists have very correctly put it out is that it's very critical first to identify who your stakeholders are, which is super important as and when this crisis of this magnitude hits you, which is not just the customers but your employees, because they are equally part of it, not just because they're taking care of the guests but also they could get affected with the COVID. Your back office, your teams, your guests, everybody, all your stakeholders. And I think as a communications professional, our job and responsibility was not just one fold, which is only to communicate to the outsiders, but also the internal. So in this case, both external and internal communications becomes very crucial and important. And I think, of course, most of the brands would have had a task force team. And what we also did was we created a source of communication where everybody across the group can go and fall back. What are the things that we are communicating? What are the steps and measures that we are taking, so that anybody who goes out, be it in a social media platform, and largely social media platform, because everybody has a Facebook group, everybody is on Instagram, everyone, most of the people are talking on the Twitter. We wanted that each one should know what rightfully is happening, and it should not be like, oh, I wasn't aware, even though I work in Calcutta or I work in Vizag, I didn't know what the Daily is doing. I don't know what is happening in the Mumbai hotel. I don't know what are the steps and the measures that are being happening. So even though I think as the industry, we were facing this business continuity as a challenge and a big challenge, what was becoming very critical for us, that how well do we communicate to all our stakeholders? And I think once that is taken care of, then you know that all kind of communication that will flow through. And it may not necessarily come only from our department or only with, it's, of course, it's controlled centrally by us. We do look at it, but we also are kind of sure that what the messaging is going out is going to be uniform, is going to be correct. At least it's not going to be incorrect. It's not going to be somebody is putting something else. So at every level, even if there were steps being taken, let's say for our new hygiene and safety program, which is the Shield, when we launched, we first ensure that our internal stakeholders are aware about it. What is it? How is it going to protect them and us? If there were doctors that were coming across and staying in our hotels, if there were COVID warriors who were staying in our hotels, we were equally worried for our own team members as well, that how safe they feel while they're going to be handling this kind of customer, because it's a very, we're not just a hospitality, we're not just only going to look at our guests, we have to take care of our employees, and that comes first. And both Ms. Paul and Mr. Devan were very critical about the aspect that the general manager's first job should be to ensure that all the staff is feeling comfortable with what they are doing and are well trained, and they should be confident of what they are doing. Or if they are not confident, they are not happy to do whatever they've been asked to, they should be allowed not to. There is nobody being forced. But I don't think so anybody ever said that we do not want to. I think that's the spirit.
So how many people were working, say, in the Park Delhi at the height of the crisis?
At the
hotels, as you all know, in Delhi haven't been allowed to open. So how many people are working?
So we largely have around 500 to 600 as a strength.
Right.
Of course, it started going down because all the support staff was asked to work out of home.
Right.
And a large part of was also on this shift. But at any given point of time, we had about 80 to 100 people who were still there. Of course, it got again further reduced as there were not many travelers happening. And depending on the occupancy levels, it keeps shifting. It could be any day 50, it could be any day 80. But it was... they were just not communicated. They were trained to do this. They were trained how this has to be handled, because again, it is very important that as our members, our team members feel very confident and comfortable with what they are doing, because they all are living with families. They all are living with, and in some of our hotels, like in Jaipur and Jodhpur, we actually had the staff living with us. We didn't let them go because we understood that the sort of hesitation that they had. And I think that at some level, when you have this kind of trust, both between the company and the organization and the employees, the communication will always go correct. You do not have to worry about that. Will there be something which is not going to go correct? And then then the second steps comes, okay, what are the new channels that we can look at for business continuity? What are the channels we can look at revenue? I think one thing which I would like to say is that we were very carefully listening to what our customers want at this time, and I think most other brands too, but we were very careful that we do not want to talk about things that are pure selling. We are not here to tell you how beautiful our rooms are. We are not here to tell you what kind of facilities you're going to get. We are not here to tell you what kind of rates you can get, but we are here to tell you what you want to hear. In the beginning, you wanted to hear that, okay, I can't come to your country to travel right now. Will my money get refunded? We will communicate that. At another level, you wanted to know that, is your hotel safe enough for us to travel? We will give you that information. If you want to know what is happening in our country, that's the information that we're going to give you. So I think we had to step up our communications ability to also listening to what our customer wants to hear. And after a point when the lockdown wasn't getting over, when we realized, okay, this is not just going to be a month long, it seems it's going to carry on for a while. We realized, what is it our customer wants? They were getting bored at home. They were getting irritated at home. They wanted newer things and activities. And we started doing, and I think most brands started doing, getting the chefs come over, do the recipes. We are big on entertainment. We decided to bring something called the Park Aqua set on on your iPhone. So you can download every Sunday. We have a new track list that will give you music and entertainment right sitting at your home. We started getting DJs to do live performances. So the idea here is that, I'm sure all the brands did what they had to, but idea was like, let's listen to our customers. What is that their need, and not what we want to tell you, but what is that you want to hear from us. And I think from that similar ethos is where our ability to figure out, okay, home delivery business is going. That's the route that we should take. We have a Flurys brand which does fantastically, and I think Flurys was one of the first brands for us which started delivering breads and bakeries and products in Calcutta. And it was such a success. That is where we also started realizing to other hotels where our F&B is so strong, and people are looking at it. And of course, delivery is one part. Second is the hygiene part. And people are more comfortable and confident that what is happening in the hotels is going to be definitely much more hygiene than possibly if they don't know other brands. I mean, if I'm not saying or disputing they wouldn't be, but your confidence is always higher if you've been using a particular brand and you know that they have the ability to take care of us. So that is how we took different routes. And now we've just launched also, you can get chefs and bartenders at home, and they can come to your home and do the cooking for 10 to 12 people. So we're coming up with things that people want more than we just creating something new or unique.
These are as it's very clear that you're working at three levels really. You're working with your customers, hearing what they're saying. You're working with the fellow stakeholders, and then you're working at this audience out there, which
Yes.
indefinable. You really don't know who are out there, listening to you. So, Archana, that brings me in now. You've heard everyone. You have multi clients across, verticals, and you have a perspective little also beyond the travel or hospitality sectors. Now, I'll give you some time to deliberate on what all you heard, and just say that where did we succeed and where did we fail? What are the lessons to be learned from this pandemic, which no one expected to arrive so suddenly and so badly?
No, I think it's been well handled by all of these hotel companies, the travel companies across the globe. Actually, to that matter, it was so heartening to see some of the campaigns that came out of countries like Portugal, or Germany, etc. They all, New Zealand, they all put themselves out and said, guys, this is not a time to travel. Stay home, enjoy maybe literature from our great authors, or try and sort of do more virtual travel. And that was really nice to see. And that came so early on in the month of April when we got to see those campaigns. It was sort of very, even the hospitality industry, that lovely campaign where only a certain amount of room lights were open to, show heart for, the warriors. It was certainly something that I think as a customer, you certainly empathize towards it and you feel proud. And I think more importantly, when I look at it, India is very well poised to sort of, Indian hospitality industry, I think, will fare exceedingly well, because out of the security issues that we've had to deal with, we've dealt with them so competently at hotels, at malls in our country. Where else in the world you have the scrutiny that we have to go through to enter a particular hotel or a mall to shop or dine?
Yeah.
We do it.
And we owe it to 2611, really.
Exactly. So if we could deal with that, I think this is something that we will certainly be able to deal with. I think in the early days, which was really a question of survival, right? We have three phases in any business, I think the businesses have survived, right? Because they responded well. They responded like Ruchika said, like Parinita said, Anjali said, everybody, what is it that they were cognizant of what the customer was really looking for. They needed assurance, right? So you all assured your customers at that point of time, or your internal stakeholders, to say, hey, listen, we'll take care of you. Now it's the time that you all are offering staycations. You're offering a little bit more than that, right? You're saying, what are the flexible? Or even, okay, I've had to cancel my trip. Maybe I was going to Taj Safari and I needed to cancel my trip. I knew that they would say, okay, there's credit lying with us. We will, you can come and stay with us for maybe, be valid for 12 more months. That assurance and the flexibility, or what is it that I can now expect when I travel, has been given. That's obviously allowing the business to kind of revive. But I think the challenge will lie in the future because of the uncertainty that faces us. Right?
In fact, here,
how you welcome your guests. Sorry.
Right.
I mean, you were used to saying, okay, garland milega, mujhe tika milega, aarti milegi. Ab kya milega? You will get a spray of sanitizer at you. But honestly, you'll have to make the reimagination. How do you build a romance around that? How do you make sure that lovely cold towel that arrives at your dining, when you're dining at a hotel, just feel like, oh, this is sanitized for my use, and it's going to make sure that I am safe. Those elements will require a fair amount of reimagination of the services that we put, the hospitality industry put forth.
That's right. In fact, that is the way forward. I think that is where I'm sure the other participants in this webinar are already quite busy thinking about the future. But Archana, as someone who has seen different sectors in action, How do you rate the responsiveness of the Indian travel and hospitality sectors to this unprecedented situation?
I mean, look at it purely from the hospitality industry, fabulous. I think they're top notch. I mean, did the country come up with a campaign that was something for tourism? I think there is some amount of work that could be done. It is a
I
time
think
for
that is where I think as a
domestic
country we
tourism.
sort of missed the bus,
Yeah, I think domestic tourism has a huge potential.
Yes.
And all of you all will be, I'm already marketing to the domestic traveler as you all open up. But I don't think the country really came together to say, hey, listen, this is it. But, understandably, our country has far greater issues to deal with just now. And I think the fact that we've been able to flatten the curve in a way, I think that goes to show that, some correct measures have been taken by the government of the day.
Right.
So let's sort of leave it at that. But I think the industry, the community is coming together well. The fact that we are discussing it and we are having these seminars itself goes to say that there's an openness to share information and for people who maybe younger hoteliers, etc., who don't have, so many resources at their disposal. They're looking at this. For them, even to think of a good social media campaign of what they could run, how they can actually virtually show that their kitchens are safe or their rooms are safe and being sanitized is a huge challenge. They don't have that resourcing.
That's right.
Those simple, how is it that you can, and at what stage do you get your influencers back into the hotel? Do we get it? Where do we put the message? Do we start doing home delivery through sort of Swiggy like ITC hotels have done? ITC hotels, etc., put on that big show, 5-star chef on TV. And it was really, bringing together all the elements, right? So you have great chefs who can cook well, and people are eating at home. So they're looking for recipes and they say, why not marry that with the kind of products that are available in the marketplace? Which included obviously some of the ITC foods as well. So that was a good, I think, a very, very clever move on back. So you've seen very exciting campaigns during this time. Why would you have otherwise, hotel companies have always believed in their own van going to for catering, their own van going and delivering. And I think it's time to come to say, hey, listen, let's just open it up. There are aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato, which is doing such a great job. Let's sort of partner with them and take it further. And I think that's been, a very laudable sort of initiative, at least at ITC.
Yeah, of course, one problem, in fact, I'll, here raise an interest, a subject very close to my heart. And I'll, pan to Parinita right now. But, I was, my personal view is that, getting Swiggy and Zomato into the act for 5-star hotels may cause a bit of a dissonance, because, frankly, Zomato and Swiggy are a bunch of, they may be aggregators with repute, but you really don't know at the individual level who are the people who are delivering the food at home, Which brings me to the question, to Parinita, to talk to her about, Qming, I think Qming is, you are depending entirely on your network to deliver food at home. Can you talk a bit about it and how, what you learned from it?
Sarish, every company has their own decisions to take and I respect everybody. There are companies tied up with Swiggy and Zomato. But I just want to say to what Ruchika said, we also, as soon as the pandemic started, we realized, people used to always find, for over a century, Taj has been a home to people. So we said, let's take Taj to their homes. So we started this thing called Hospitality at Home, where there were specially curated hampers. And we got such a phenomenal response to that the team quickly got onto the act and started working on Qming. And we were full stream ahead and all. And when we were talking to customers, we realized, Sorish, that they were not very comfortable going on. They would be happier if the whole thing came out of one hotel company, which is what we decided. We tied up with TCS and all. So not only did we launch Qming in multiple cities, we've launched our own app, Sorish.
So the app is now functional in Bombay only, but you're going to expand it.
Yes. It will soon soon become operational in other cities as well. And Qming available in 6 cities. And Sorish, the surprising thing was, it's not just the metro cities. We found a great response in cities like Lucknow and Jaipur. So we are going to be launching Cumin in these cities as well. So that we have the capacity to pay. But our customers were very clear. So therefore we said, even if it's priced a little higher, we will have our own app, because it is done in a safe and hygienic manner. It is coming from the house of Taj and all. So we took that decision, and we have our own. And the guest response has been superb. It's been far better than what we ever thought it would be. We are generating, and now what has happened, Sorish, that become like a vertical in itself. So what we are planning to do is, it is not just these 10 cities and the app. We are planning to launch Cumin stores in the hotels.
Right.
So we have, it's going to be a complete vertical in itself.
Yeah, and knowing your CEOs, he's very numbers driven, and I don't think he will tolerate anything which is which doesn't deliver the numbers. So obviously, Cumin has been delivering the numbers which are sort of keeping you happy.
It's been delivering very, very good numbers.
Right. Okay, so I'll then swing to Sumika. Sumika, very interestingly, your colleague had come to meet me yesterday, and she was talking about how Radisson is now doing a lot of facilities management for hotels and homes. Can you talk? I mean, people, you have home delivery of food, of course. People have that, and you have, different hotels are doing different things. What stood out for Radisson is the facilities management and the concierge service that can you talk a bit about these two?
I mean, it's obviously based on the thought that has been spoken about on this panel earlier, which is basically, I mean, the idea behind it is to take your brand promise where the guest is, right? So I mean, now that the guest is largely, at their respective homes, we've obviously reimagined our business to see how can we best reach them where they are. And, it's also a part of a larger plan wherein, what we refer to within Radisson as the India Unification Plan, where we are looking at ways of course, opening, various revenue streams for the business to keep recovery going and to keep business continuity in place. So, when we tied up with Easy Diner, and, that also came with its additional security and hygiene measure of, the Easy Safe platform that they have launched.
Excuse me, does Easy Diner do the delivery for you?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, I mean, for us, everything is, we are looking at it from a larger and a long-term plan perspective. And therefore, we decided to do it with Easy Diner because it's currently, while it is serving our home delivery requirements, it's also something that will, organically roll into, table booking when the time is right for our guests to walk into our restaurants. And of course, it gives us that additional, level of assurity with their Easy Safe platform, which basically comes on top of our own SOPs and the partnership that we've done with SGS, wherein, there are set processes and protocols to the hygiene measures we have implemented. So,
those SGS protocols, when you offer facility management service to say an office, you actually take the SCS, the stamp of authority also with you. You carry it with you.
Absolutely. And across the portfolio, and, we are present in 60 cities across India to date. None of our hotels can be opened without the SGS seal of approval and authentication and certification. So coming back to, the service that you've spoken about, the thought process behind it, of course, it was to deliver our Yes, I Can service and take it where the guest is and fulfill that brand promise. So, that was the origin of the concierge services concept that we have rolled out currently, which will basically be an amalgamation of a whole lot of a whole lot of services across the length and breadth of what you define as hospitality, whether it's in the entertainment vertical or it's in the housekeeping vertical, or it could be in the F&B vertical. So as hotel management experts, we have the requisite expertise. We have we have the professionals and experts with us who will be able to curate that unique experience to deliver to the guests where they are, and we will deliver it with the assurity and assurity of safety and hygiene that we have verified internally through the collaborations we have at an international level. So that's the core thought behind the concierge services initiative that is currently being rolled out in a phased manner.
Great. So, Anjali, I know you're still new to the Leela group, but what are the various initiatives that you know about that you'd like to talk about? Because Leela's done a lot of work with the frontline workers. Beyond that, it has also started delivering. Home deliveries are very much part of your package. Which I thought Leela would never do it, but the fact that Leela is doing it, shows that everyone is quickly catching on, sort of recognizing the ground realities.
Absolutely,
So what all?
Sarish. I think, to just echoing what everybody else said, at the end of the day, you have to listen to what your guests are saying, what your customers really need, and be agile and quick to adapt. And, you have to reimagine your business, you have to pivot, you have to transform the way that you have looked at things to exactly what Archana was saying earlier as well. So there was a need to start delivering food, and that's how the Leela also started delivering, and we're seeing really good, encouraging results from it. But I think, as markets are beginning to open up and as hotels are now coming back online, when things happen so dramatically and at such breakneck speed, the one thing that is very clear is that the normal that we're going to see is going to be very, very different. So up front, front and center in everybody's mind is their safety and security. So the Leela tied up with Bureau Veritas and launched the Suraksha program, which has looked at what Archana was saying earlier. How does the hand sanitizer look? What does my welcome experience look? So looked at all of those touch points to reimagine, but also reassure guests that you can still deliver that message of safety and well-being that is upfront and like top of mind for us, but we can still do it with the service that the graciousness and the service elements that the Leela brand, like the Leela, is known for. So that has been a core focus for us, and also training associates, training our own staff on how, because this requires a lot more sensitivity. I mean, especially with technology coming into the scene, how do you balance high tech with contactless? So, it's check-in and check-out procedures, which are completely contactless.
That brings me to, there's the human, what Archana referred to, the human element, of hospitality is really being taken away from it.
So that is where training comes in. And that is what we have been concentrating on, how much to distance yourself. And in hospitality, that becomes a really big challenge, because social distancing has to be taken in a completely different light. So you're there for the guest when the guest needs you, and you respect the guest's privacy, because I think also going forward, privacy is going to be the new luxury. Every guest is going to be able to want and have that flexibility of choice to be able to choose what kind of service they want, whether they want their rooms to be done every day or not, or whether they want no room service at all. And we have to be sensitive and conscious to that in the way we set and redesign our operating procedures. So I think the Leela has been doing a lot of work there. The second thing I want to highlight is that whatever may have happened with COVID, it may have changed and completely transformed the way we work, the way we interact, the way we shop, The one thing that it hasn't changed is essentially what we as human beings need. That desire to travel, to experience life, to live, I think that is core to our existence. So in my opinion, and that is what we've been concentrating on at the Leela, is that brands that can create these meaningful offers or packages that will resonate with your customer will lead the road to recovery. That's my opinion. And that's how we've been working through. So for example,
And I believe we had your Leela Bangalore general manager a couple of webinars ago, and he was talking about the staycation packages.
exactly.
Apparently, in places like Bangalore, they seem to be working a lot.
Yes, so all our hotels, so if you see the Leela Palace Udaipur, we've launched a drivecation package because we know that people will want to drive to locations before air travel picks up. They get comfortable to travel by air, forget international travel, just within even domestic travel. So BMW picks you up from your doorstep, takes you to the Leela Palace. You get to stay in the Maharaja's suite. You're well taken care of there. You have your privacy. You have your space. And then you get dropped back to your doorstep. We're launching a similar package at the Leela Goa now, which is also a flycation package. So both Udaipur and Goa, we have a flycation package where it's a private charter, and you land into the city in your private charter, and then you're taken care of at the hotel and you fly back. The other one, which has really picked up very well, and probably Kunal may have mentioned that on the panel, is also work from hotel. So, after working from home, the next step is probably working from hotel. I think there would be still a while before people get comfortable to start going into an office environment and working. So this is a nice in-between where they get their Wi-Fi, they get all of the services that they want. They can have smaller, socially distanced meeting space and everything else that you need, including services like housekeeping, room service, food and beverage experiences, all of that, and you still get to work from a nice space. So I think at the Leela, we've been working a lot on this.
Sorry, a lot of the techie companies, a lot of the computer, the software companies, they are increasingly like TCS. I think 65% of its employees, and here we're talking about a giant in the industry. 65% of its employees are going to work from home.
Exactly.
I mean, irrespective of whether it's COVID or not. Now, similarly, other techie companies are taking similar actions. So they will be, I think, working from hotels may evolve as a very big vertical in itself.
We've seen a lot of good response around it in all our city hotels. It's one of our very popular packages.
Right. Okay, great. So, Ruchika, coming to you, we've got two Ruchikas now. We have one Ruchika that is silent in a very pensive mood, and one Ruchika which is talking. Okay, now we have only one Ruchika. Okay. You've heard everyone, and the park also has done a lot of interesting things, including on music and all. Like you're talking about your DJ and everything, your own channel. I thought that was very unique. Especially when I see so many international DJs now doing the Sunday broadcasts, and just yesterday I was listening to one of the international DJs doing his Sunday broadcasts. But he was of course playing electronic music, not my favorite genre of music, but but he's a huge name in the industry. Anyway, so what are the initiatives of the park, that you feel, in terms of new ideation, that will go a long way, not only now, I mean, even in the future?
So a lot of ideas that have just been shared. I think most of us are already working towards them. Of course, one being the delivery that is happening across hotels and across cities. Staycations, daycations. In fact, a zone brand was built in a way that you could even work when there was no COVID-like situation. You can actually work out of there. So the workstations have really picked up in Bangalore and Gurugram, where our zone hotels are there. The other thing which is very critical for us is, Suresh, as you know, that anything that we do as a brand also has to fall to what the promise that is, which is anything but ordinary. And for us, creating those experiences, creating those unique experiences is very, very critical, because that is who we are, and that's what we stand for as a brand. So whenever we are doing these activities, or whenever we are planning or brainstorming between sessions, I mean, we have lots of task force teams that are sitting and working on what are the new things that can be done, both online and offline, because right now the customer is both ways. So what are the things that can be done online, which possibly tomorrow can be taken offline as well? Let's say the park aqua sets, because our aqua music is anyway super popular, and we have this host of DJs that we have. And we know once the situation gets normal, hopefully, even if it takes about 8 to 10 months, people would love to come back and dance to the music. The other smaller activities that we are doing, which are also making a lot of differences, like showcasing movies in the room. I mean, we are a big Bollywood culture, and people love to still watch movies. Of course, we are all watching it on Netflix and the various other OTT platforms. But we actually did this in Calcutta and Hyderabad hotels, and because we have huge hotels there, and there are sections where you could just go with your family and watch movie while you being very well taken care of, and they've been picked up so well. And Hyderabad hotel usually does not have a slot available, because you're only giving it to 4 or 5 people for a couple of hours. So activities like that, even music in rooms, I mean, that's something that's going to get launched. So we do realize that the bars and the nightclubs possibly may not open very soon or early on. And even if they do, we will have limited access to the bars and the nightlife. I mean, we'll not have more than 40, 50 people, depending on the social distancing norms. But if you're staying in the hotel, you can still enjoy that music. So we're working towards a technology that can bring that sort of music while you're staying at home, show you what's happening out there in the bar right now, and you can still enjoy while you're at home. So we're working.
I should be able to log into your music channel and get the music
Completely,
of the
completely,
moment.
absolutely. And see, there are certain set of people who like what Anjali and Archana said, that the human bit cannot go away. And let's not forget, we are hotels. We are not hospitals. People want to clean, safe, nice environment, but they also want to come to have fun, and that's the basic need, right? We are going to hotels to enjoy ourselves. We're going to hotels because that's really critical part. I don't want to go to a hotel as a consumer and feel like, oh my god, I can't have fun, I can't talk to my friends, there's huge social distancing. You still want to enjoy and have fun. So what we are trying to do is bring on activities that makes you feel at one level that you're safe, but at another level, this is how it's going to be. Let's also have fun. Let's not forget why we are here. Let's not forget that we're here to have a good time and a good, have a good vacation. And that's very, very critical part of who as hoteliers we are. That is to get you and give you and offer you a great time wherever you are. That is, whether you're in your homes, whether you're with us in our hotels, whatever space you are in. So even in terms of, once things are going to open up, definitely there's going to be a huge focus on veganism. There's going to be a huge focus on health and fitness. There's going to be a huge focus on the food that is coming from the farm to fork. And, we've been pioneers in organic and food movement across our hotels. And we see that becoming even more stronger now. Because, I mean, let's not forget.
Which brings me to a question. How's the rooftop garden at the park, Delhi, doing?
It's still there. It's very active there.
And
it is being
what
taken
about
care
the
by
lovely stuff that comes out of the,
because we do have, like we mentioned, the COVID warriors, so there is food that gets consumed, and this is being.
So they actually have
yes.
rooftop to dinner table food.
Yes.
So all the Lokis and Karelas,
Absolutely, which is the need right now. And so smaller things like immunity boosters are being. I mean, like what Archana said, that we're going to be giving hand sanitizers now, right? While we're doing the in-room check-in, but we're also adding those with immunity booster shots, so that you feel a little more fun. I mean, we don't want to take the fun element out of your coming and staying into the hotels, because we don't want any of our guests are coming to hospitals, we do still
Right.
want them to feel they're coming to hotels. So
Right.
adding smaller little things, also weddings, we do see a lot of requests coming from smaller groups of weddings. So how can we make that comfortable? I mean, we've already started getting requests. In fact, one or two hotels have also done about 30 to 40 people, small intimate weddings, which had Zoom facilities because they wanted to broadcast it to their other, to their other family members. So there are various things that are being worked on right now, and definitely health, wellness, fitness is going to be underlying notion to most of the activities and things that are being done,
Fantastic.
with a layer of the fun element that
Right.
we would like to add.
Right. No, in fact, they're talking about the various, like the IHE 2020 is going to be a virtual show, as we said, but we are also, planning maybe by that time, if the norms sort of get relaxed, we'll have the awards event as a physical event. And in that case, we have lots of space at the IEML. So we'll have enough physical distancing, and yet we'll have this turnout of 300 plus, 350 plus, like we had last year.
Yes.
So fingers crossed for our award show.
So we all need to meet. I think it's we all are kind of getting
so
desperate.
December 4th, 2020 will be that day, when we'll have the hospitality event of the year, really. Archana, that brings me to the final round, really. You've heard all of them now. What is the way forward? The problem is that even in places where hotels have opened up, people are yet not coming in. The hotels, the restaurants are not filling up, even if they're 30% or 40% of the capacity. How do you get people to come in? Of course, weddings, I realize, have started. People are showing up.
In fact, Sarish, I want to just come in over here and tell you, right through the lockdown, that was one business our hotels kept on getting.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yes, and of course, you had to do it with government rules and regulations. They had a permit from the government. It was up to 50 people, and of course, we would do all social distancing. Everything was worked out. But our hotels made good money through weddings. And another thing, two other things that we noticed for Sarish. A lot of destination weddings which were going to be hosted abroad, travel abroad. They are now coming to, in fact, we have some spectacular resort properties. It's down to 50 people, but they would still do a 3-day destination wedding. So wedding business is very much very on, and very positive opportunities. Another positive opportunities, India had more outbound tourism than inbound. Now people can't travel abroad. So as all my co-panelists said, domestic tourism is, everybody is doing staycations, business vacations. Even we have an offer called 4D, Dream Drive Discover Delight. We've got such a great response. And to just come to what Anjali said, people at the end of the day, they will want to get married. They will want to, and Ruchika said, they want to have fun. So this may be an interim thing which is getting prolonged, but eventually going to, people are already getting quite fed up.
And I think the shape and the format changes.
Yes, but it is still going to happen.
But it is still going to happen. Be it weddings, be it meetings, be it, whatever. The size may vary.
That's the function of human, because
socialization
is a very human need.
In fact, Archana, that brings me, if you were to, listening to everyone and seeing what has happened, if you were to create a template, what would that look like?
The communication template?
Yeah, exactly.
The communication template will be a lot of innovation, and out of the box ideas will emerge out of this. We've seen it already emerge in a lot of other segments. I'll just give you examples from other segments. United Breweries has a brand called Kingfisher. Now they sponsor a lot of music related events, right? There's a lot of, and that's a latent need. When if they want to stimulate drinking, then you need entertainment. How do you do it? So they've actually started a YouTube channel called Cheers in this period. So you're seeing that come about, and I know hotels will do that. I think a lot of investment will also take place in very innovative AR technology, for example, that contactless, for example, if I am checking into Ananda in the Himalayas, I mean, my first session would be with the Ayurveda doctor to say, hey, Kay, what is it that I need to do? Now, all that is going to not happen remotely before I even arrive there, right? So similarly, the other day I was at Dory Cafe for a coffee with a colleague of mine. We decided, let's meet for a coffee. It doesn't matter. And it was so nice because we had to use our phone, scan the little QR code to look at the menu. So the place, it's to, obviously tables are distance, but it's nice that even young establishments like that have all of that. Now hotels will definitely have that.
But that whole idea, like,
Or if I check in,
yeah.
So what will happen is if I check into a hotel room, everything will be through my phone. I will check in. This phone will control my key card. So I will enter using my own phone. So there's no, there's going to be little less concerns.
Right. No, like I'm just butting in.
Back to the hotels, right?
I'm just butting it from, that's say in a hotel like Taj, or you talked about ITC or Oberoi, or any of these old legacy hotels, one of the big things of hospitality is you enter and you have a maitre d', or someone giving you a lot of bhav, as it were, giving you a lot of making you feel very important.
Pampering is our need.
No, pampering will go away from our business,
No, it won't.
No, Sorish, it won't. It won't, Sorish. Not at all. Even Anjali said that. See, all the hotel companies, we are working at that wonderful balance between technology and with that inherent warmth. Hospitality companies are working at. Yes, they might be wearing masks. You might not be able to see, but we've already cracked it. So that will not go away.
That's not going
to add what Archana was saying. I mean, we at IHE, we've launched this thing called iZest. So we've invested a lot in technology, for contactless check-in, contactless whatever in the restaurant. So there's an entire gamut of, now one more thing is that hospitality has now no choice but to upgrade technologically.
Yes.
We will have to do it. We have no choice. But at the same time, we will ensure, because we also know at the end of the day, hospitality is all about people. It's all about people.
Right. So, Archana, you get your cue. And you come back to, sorry, I sort of butted in, but I had to put in my 2 bits on getting.
No, that's the idea of having a discussion. Otherwise, what is it?
No, please continue. Please continue.
See, the pampering needs of individuals will definitely continue, and we'd want to. But we will be assured into going into Taj or the Leela or the parks because of the other communication, the other surround sound that the brands will have to make. If they don't communicate right now, we're going to be reticent. But the big challenge today is not only to get guests in. First is how comfortable are your employees coming back to work?
Yes, yeah.
I think the challenge lies here. In a firm like ours, we know. I mean, we keep doing surveys periodically with talent, and 10% only want to come back to work. They are happy working from home. They're saying we don't. So the big challenge is to push people in, and I think it's got to be a few brave people who will catalog their travel and say how wonderful it was, what a wonderful experience, and then it kind of will get them moving. I've been on a holiday already, and I'm going on another one.
I've seen pictures. I've seen pictures of the last holiday.
Exactly, and I'm going again. And there's no way we are going to stop. We're going to say, okay, come on, let's get out. If we have to work from home, we are going to go next week and go sit down somewhere and work from there. It doesn't matter. So it gives us a feeling, but we get to engage with other people than the people that we have engaged with in only our home. So I think as a domestic travel, anything that we can drive to will catch early bird. But it's also got to be with some attractive, let's say, lack of a better word, packages that hotel companies offer to induce that. A lot of people want to indulge in staycations. A lot of people want to, but they don't feel assured that, the hotel has taken the measures. So I would really say that a lot of digital and social communications need to take place for every brand. Using maybe a third party It's going back to the Cadbury days, right? You didn't want to eat a Cadbury till Amitabh Bachchan went into that factory, looked at it and say, hey, listen, this was great, you know? So showcase some of your back office, you know, your kitchen work, what kind of measures are being taken. And as long as your stakeholders are going to be convinced that, you know, this company has taken care of it, they will be there.
Fantastic. I think, Sumika, any thoughts on, you know, this lovely last bit, you know, that how do you keep communicating the fact that you are doing so much to make your environment clean, sanitized?
Yeah, I mean, I think as was just being said, safety and hygiene is the topmost message out there as part of everybody's marketing strategy. But we
How
cannot.
is the Radisson doing it? How are you guys doing it? How do you
Right. So
convey this message?
yeah, as I mentioned, we've gone out with our global partnership with SGS, and that's become the crucial and the pretty much the focal point for all our marketing efforts. You know, so safety and flexibility are basically the pivotal points around which the marketing strategy is being developed globally. And but you know, just coming back to what was being said here as well, and I completely endorse this. While all the hotels are reinventing their strategies, they're looking at, you know, opportunities to delight the guest. And the delight factor is really essential because, you know, it's true, we are in the business of hospitality. We are in the business of, you know, bringing a cheer and smile to the faces of our guests. It's not to be said that you know, you can't do it within the purview of the social distancing norms, or you can't do it in the purview of, you know, the limitations and restrictions that we face in the current world. I mean, even if while you're doing a road trip or you're doing a staycation, what's preventing a hotel, you know, from adding that you know, special barbecue setup in your outdoor lawn and taking your guests there to enjoy a barbecue, you know, to probably do your own barbecue? Or what's really preventing a brand from setting extremely, you know, like a delightful Netflix session in room for the whole family to enjoy? It could be a full blown up. It could be anything to do with, you know, prioritizing your wellness and health, from, you know, putting a yoga trainer in there on a one-on-one basis. And all of these services, I think, are something that are emerging as extensions of the traditional model of hospitality. And as I said earlier as well, I mean, that's what is that some of those services are what constitute the concierge service, you know, initiative that we've launched at Radisson. As an extension of that, you know, you'll have your laundry and housekeeping done and delivered to your doorstep by an expert, you know, who knows and who's an expert at doing it. Everybody finds to, you know, be in a hotel at some level, also for those delicious looking white and crispy sheets out there. And you know, instantly when you enter a hotel, that you know, that's basically a token of assurance to get from the hotel. So if those services are being delivered at your doorstep, and while you're at the hotel, you're getting a flavor of what you might want to experience on a holiday trip, but being done in a more personalized setup, being done in a smaller setup with all the due precautions, I think there's nothing limiting hospitality to operate in this environment.
You can have social distancing. I would rather prefer the term physical distancing. You know, physical distancing and the hospitable aspects of hospitality coexist.
Yeah.
You can have one model that. So, Ruchika, talking about. Ruchika, are you on screen? Can you hear me? Yes. I think she is sort of.
It's frozen, yeah. So I
frozen,
think.
yeah. I guess there's a problem. I'll just
I think she's now, yeah, she can hear you.
Yeah, are you on?
Ruchika can hear you.
Yeah. So, sort of, we'll conclude with you. And, you are one of the, a few social media, I mean, I don't know many social media stars, but you're definitely one of them. And you have a huge following.
I'm embarrassed.
And
I said I'm embarrassed now.
what do you call it? The PR lady. That's your
I
handle,
used to call. Yes, I used to call.
We should all start following Ruchika,
Yes, and increase my followership
and
a lot more.
this is pure organic following, not bot following.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now as a person who's in the industry, who's practicing social media, what are the social media mantras I think you would like to share with the industry, and how do you think you can make social media a really important tool in your communication strategy?
I think it is already.
And I say this particularly in one context because look, the media, as far as the traditional media is going, the print is sort of going out of circulation. Literally, television is becoming too much of a shouting match. So we need some the medium where we can talk about things which are beyond. अच्छा कल तूने ऐसे किया मैं वहाँ मंदिर बनाऊंगा वहाँ मस्जिद बनाऊंगा. Let's get out of the business. Just talk about life. Can social media become that kind of medium of communication? Okay, we again have a
I think she's facing a
freezing Ruchika situation.
If I may just add, until she comes back, honestly, social media is a very, very valuable tool today.
Am I audible?
We've been able.
Yeah, you're sort of going in and out.
Are you back?
Archana,
I know. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
Let her.
It also shows the limitations of social media or alternative media. So, anyway, now I think, but Archana was making a point. Ruchika, let her finish it. We'll come back to you.
Yes,
you know the question. Archana, yeah.
So I was just saying that it's so valuable today, honestly, because we've launched hotels with a digital first strategy on the basis of really influencers and just social media in the midst of hot summers, and we've got great results. So it shows business results. So I will just rest the case there and let Ruchika sort of take on.
Fantastic, Ruchika.
So I think you very correctly pointed out that how the whole media landscape currently is shifting and changing, and the COVID situation has kind of also got into the fact that a lot of publications and print houses are shutting down. I think the definite, and this is something which has been going on and it's just being pivoted a little to a full speed now, that own media will continue, is going to become an important, extremely important tool for all the brands, owned and digital media. So one has to now look, of course, the earned media will always be very critical and important when it comes to our PR strategies or our marketing and communication strategies, but owned media and digital media is going to become extremely, extremely important and strong. And when I say owned media, one is of course the social media channels, the others is also your blogs and your other presence that the brand has. And you have a lot of we all have a lot of loyal customers who are coming to us. We work with brands which have a legacy behind, which has a history behind, and there is a huge loyal customer base that we have who wants to know about us, who likes to interact with us directly and are not looking to reach out through a third party communication. So as long as we are able to control our own media, I think our dependence also on the other print and the publication will continue to go. It will not impact us with the current changes that are happening. And that's where the focus of the communication strategy definitely should be in the coming few years. Having said that, the social media, if I'll just quickly give my 2-3 inputs that I feel are getting critical is social media again is shifting from one platform to another platform. I think at one level, we have to understand what platform works for our particular brand. Like a TikTok possibly would never work for a brand like a hotels. I mean, I'd really tried getting myself onto it, and trust me, within 10 minutes I would be out, because I just couldn't relate to it as a consumer, and I just could not understand how my brand will fit into it with that kind of consumer and the content that is being created. But having said that, it had a huge views, it had crazy number of people, and a lot of seniors were moving towards TikTok, while we still at the millennials stuck towards Instagram and Facebook. So what is getting critical for all of us is to understand what is the platform that works for our brand, for our industry, what is it that will convey us the most. And if you're able to follow through and be nimble enough, like we're nimble enough in our strategies and communications and marketing for various situations, be nimble enough to shift quickly. I mean, it took us a long time to create a base on Facebook, and then suddenly Instagram came in, and then suddenly everybody started moving to Instagram. We all had like lakhs and millions of views, and Instagram completely changed its ball game and their algorithms, and then you have to make every post paid to reach out to your audience. And definitely Instagram is going to move towards that, with the whole shop experience that is coming along, their e-commerce experience coming along. So I think it's very critical as communicators for all of us to keep an eye on what are the next trends that are happening, what are the new platforms that are coming, and what is going to work for us. That's why it's critical to work and invest on own media platforms. The more we do that,
talking about own media, Ritika, and I think maybe I'll pass this to Parinita, because you guys are doing a lot of work on your own website.
Yes.
Your website can become your own media. That can
Absolutely.
be your concierge.
Absolutely. And Sorish, not just the website, we also have a fairly decent presence on Instagram and on Facebook. And just to give you some examples, this is not related to COVID, because this thing is about COVID. We also realized everybody was at home, and if you had to reach out to them, and we had a very loyal customer base, so we started doing like little events. I mean, you could call them virtual events. Like, we tried something for the first time. So what we did was, we have a fabulous brand called the Jiva Spa, which is a brand. It's an organic brand and all, with great products and all. So what we did was, we curated these 3 events, where only for our Taj Instagram followers, where they would, we put it was physical yoga. It was your, spiritual thing as well as mental. And we did it out of 3 hotels with teams. And we got a fabulous response. So there was about 15,000 people who were our own regular customers and all, who loved it. And the beauty of it was, all the customers, they may have gone to 2 or 3 hotels. They might not have gone to all the other hotels. So what we did was, we started off at Sco, which is a beautiful beach resort in Chennai, and we did the physical thing there. Then we moved for the mental, this thing, for your, for pranayama, not to the Falaknuma Palace in Hyderabad. Spiritual thing, we have a beautiful hotel on the banks of the Ganges in Rishikesh. So we moved that last thing, spirituality, ending with Ganga Aarti. So many of the who came in, when they saw these lovely hotels, said, which is this hotel? We don't even know about it. So actually, your own captive audience, which knows and has the capacity, financial capacity to spend in this, is the right target fit.
Right. And which also brings me, Taj has such a wonderful magazine, I think you have a great legacy. Leela has a great magazine, I mean, these are like old magazines, I know the Park has a design magazine, Now, I was thinking, these could now go on your website, could be like, you could have your PDFs put up there, and you could have your old articles. I remember once I'd gone to one Taj hotel, and I had nothing better to do, so I just picked up the Taj magazine, and I read a William Dalrymple article on
That's
some...
brilliant. That's a brilliant...
Yeah, so now, I mean, I'm sure I've even written for the Leela magazine and the Oberoi magazine, but these are like repositories of information.
Yes.
And I would love to see a channel dedicated to the magazine and its issues, in its back issues, so that people can gain from the knowledge. And
Sorish,
sorry,
Anjali.
I will take this tip and take it to my senior management thing. So please put all the Taj magazine things. So over to you, Anjali. It's a great thing.
Sorry, Pari. So on our website, we already have the archives of all of our previous magazines, and we're now working on the next issue and the distribution channel for the next issue. So we don't want to do like a print magazine, but a digital format that gets into people's inboxes directly, besides resting onto our website. So
I think that is the future. I mean,
yes,
print is going out of fashion.
Yes.
And just also, Sarish, to add to what Ruchika said earlier about social media, I think the one thing that we all have to be careful is that, as custodians of our brand, we don't try and follow a new social media channel like a child who's running after a ball. Today it's TikTok, tomorrow it's Snapchat, then, day after tomorrow it's something else. I think, we have to be very sensitive and careful to see where is our audience and then create content that is specific to that channel. One of the mistakes that we make is we create a beautiful piece of content and then we put it everywhere, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's Instagram or whether it's Snapchat. We just use the same content of Facebook. Whereas what we forget is that we're targeting different audiences and different mindsets.
Absolutely.
And people are there on that channel for a particular purpose. So unless that message resonates with them when we are there, we're going to probably miss the bus.
That's right.
I think on social media, that's a little caveat that one has to tweak our strategy to see. And it's a great platform because you can be so agile and dynamic. You track what is working and you go deeper into it. It's like, you dip your feet into the water and you see how deep you want to go with it.
That's right. Right. So, Sumika, we are sort of coming to the end of the discussion. Any parting thoughts that you have, for our viewers to take back?
Yeah, I mean, some of the parting thoughts are, of course, that, the travel industry is already coming back. Hospitality is here to stay. It is definitely going to be a different, look and shape than it used to be. But there's nothing taking the warmth away from the hospitality. There's nothing, and it's of course not far, from the point where we'll meet our guests very soon. If you look at the road to recovery, I think the green shoots have started emerging across the board. We are definitely seeing, wedding enthusiasts definitely, leading that ship. I think the future, it will definitely be a slow road ahead. It's definitely not going to be, perhaps equivalent to some other industries. But we are slow and steady, but we'll get there, and we are getting there already. And keep traveling and keep that traveler spirit in you alive.
In fact, Anjali, I think your WhatsApp message says, "This too shall pass." I think that is a spirit that keeps all of us, so positive.
I'm a firm believer, Sarish, that our industry is very, very resilient. And we just have to keep our faith and believe in what we're doing and encourage that wanderlust in us. And it will come back. Whether it's a U curve or a V curve or a W, we don't know what it will look like, but it will happen.
Right. So, on that thought, I think there's so much to be confident about. I hope, one of our, again, going back to one of our webinars, we had Mr. Dilip Puri and Mr. Vijay Devan both assure us that there's a lot of money floating around in the market, because last 4 months or 5 months, no one has invested in anything, and they were talking about funds sitting on top of money, and they were saying they're all looking at India to invest, because China has sort of become a dirty word right now, So, on that note, and on the note that Sumika gave, that that let's all look forward to a brighter, more resilient future, a resilient present and a brighter future. Let us call it a day. Thank you so much. There's so much learning in this webinar. I think we should have more of such discussions. This is at least one area I can understand more than housekeeping. So I am really thankful for all of you to come here and given us so much of your wisdom and intelligence. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you,
very much.
Suresh.
Lovely,
Thank you,
lovely meeting all
everyone.
of you ladies.
Thank you. Great meeting
Thank
all
you,
of you.
Namaste.